Welcome everyone to Trainwreck to Comic Fandom for Life. I'm your host, Joe Vitson. I'm an aspiring comic book writer, a digital inker, as well as almost a 40-year fan of what we call comic books. And today's stream is just a little bit different because, for one, you get to see my beautiful face. Aren't you lucky, right? Uh, Balding, bearded, fat guy who, of course, loves comics. What a surprise. No, I'm not living in my mom's basement or anything, but, I could see where you might think that. So today, all I want to do is kind of relax with you, have a nice chill stream on this Monday, kind of hearing some thunder outside. I wanted to do this video yesterday, but unfortunately we got hit by a really, really heavy storm, and we actually lost power for a number of hours, so I wasn't able to stream. So, I've been doing a lot of ordering of comic books online, either through Indiegogo or eBay. Just because right now it's like I live pretty rural. I know that there's a comic book shop about 20 minutes away, but with the whole COVID thing going on, it's like I feel safer kind of getting stuff through the mail. I get to wipe it down and I let it set for a little while, and then I pick it up and read it. So now the books I'm going to show you are some that I've just read. Some are books that I have read, but I haven't read them for years. Some of these books are from the 90s, which I consider like really the heyday of comics that I really got excited for. But I've been a fan since very late 70s, early 80s. So the first book, and I apologize for my setup. I'm using my camera off my laptop, and I have this headphone with microphone set up. One day I might get a professional setup. Who knows? Depends how the channel does, really. So the first book I'm going to show you is this one, and I'll get it as close and into the camera as possible. This is called Rockabilly Road Trip. All right. And I just read this one yesterday, and I'm going to go and let everyone know who are the creative talents behind these books. I think that's important to get people's names out. So the Rockabilly Road Trip was created by Jesse James Roblowski. I'm sorry if I pronounce some of these names wrong, guys. And Preston Acevedo. All artwork, inks and color by Preston Acevedo, written and lettering by Jesse James Roblowski. I'm sorry, guys. Like I said, I'm really bad at this. Colors by William Anderson. Look how thick this book is. This is not your typical floppy. All right. I know some people say, well, these independent comic books, they cost about $25 on Indiegogo to support these campaigns, and I didn't get to support this one. I missed this one, but I was able to actually contact Preston, and I said, hey, do you have any extras? And he was very kind enough to send me over the book. He sold me the book. He didn't give it to me for free, so don't bother Preston to try to get free books. I mean, he might give them to you. I don't know. I had to pay. I'm not special. So, but look at the quality of this. Look at the quality of this. This is a good book. This is a book that looks like any kind of trade paperback that you would see in your local comic book stores by the mainstream comic book industry. Okay. What I really loved about this book was, for one, the story was fun. All the way through, it breaks up in different kinds of chapters and stuff like that. And the only confusing thing I had was they said colors by Preston, but the book, if you look, it's black and gray. But that didn't disappoint me. I don't mind black and white or black with gray kind of coloring styles to it. I think some artwork just looks better that way. One thing you'll notice through this book, though, is when you first open it and you see the artwork, and I'll try to get it as close as possible. It's hard for me to see. Okay. So decent artwork. I don't think that's bad artwork for something that's self-published, really. But as you go through the story, through the books, through the different chapters, you'll see that the artwork progressively gets better. So as you're reading this book, you're actually seeing Preston grow as an artist. When you get back here, things begin to look a lot slicker. Very nice, right? Some great artwork. It gets better and better and better. And what that reminds me of is, like, when I was younger, I collected the original Crow comic books by James O'Barr. And the great thing was, from issue 1 to, I think it was only 4 issues, you could see that James um, started to develop more and more as an artist. This also happened with, if you're more into kind of extreme gore or sex in your comic books, David Gwynn and Tim Vigil did a wonderful book called Faust, Love of the Damned. I think it took something like 20 some years to complete the 14 issues, maybe even more than 20 years. Now I'm going to actually say it probably was about 25 to 30 years. But the first issues, the artwork was good, and the book was coming out kind of regularly. And then the gaps between the books became bigger, from a year to 2 years, 3 years to 4 years. But when you got the next issue in hand, the artwork was so much better than the issue before, and it kept on progressing through the book. And Tim Vigil is one of my favorite artists. Unfortunately, he doesn't get recognized a lot due to the fact that he does draw extreme gore, extreme sex. People like to title it pornographic. It's a comic book. He's visually telling the story that he wants to show you, and he's, I think, one of the best artists out there. If you want to read something with a little bit less sex, he did a wonderful book called Gothic Knights, and it was his homage to Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, and it's just a beautiful, gorgeous book. So I'm going to put that one down there. I also got this book too. I was only expecting one book, but I got this book also, Rockabilly Road Trip. All right. Now this one is in color, and let me see. So same writer, artist is Preston Acevedo, Brian Arfel Magne, colorist. And right off the bat, you just see the artwork he's improved so much. Plus, it's in color. And I know some people only buy colored books or whatever, but look, the artwork is just really good. Big improvement over the bigger book. But that's great, because you see that Preston is an artist that's growing. I don't know what they have planned for the future. I don't know if there's going to be another Rockabilly Road Trip book, or if they're going to do something else. But you can find Preston. I found him on Twitter. You might want to send him a DM. He might have more issues that he's willing to sell. He sold me these for the price that I believe they went for on the Indiegogo, so there wasn't a markup or anything for being late. So he might have more. So if you like this kind of, if you want fun, just action, kind of off the wall, kind of humor with good artwork, this is a great book. This is a great book. Now, I've talked about this book before, but I didn't really get to show anything because I wasn't showing my face. I had an icon up and everything like that. And after a while, I just thought that was kind of ridiculous. Sometimes I'll probably use it. But most times I'm just going to show my face. I got nothing to hide. I tell people my name, so it's pretty easy. If people want to dox me for whatever reason, they can. I don't know. I usually get like 10 people watching my videos. So this book I loved. Vestige, Volume 1. This is an Ethan Van Sciver cover. I want to say, yeah, Kyle Ritter colored it. It's beautiful. Another thick book. Nice spine. Thick book. This is written by Gat Hanzo. Illustrated by Donald DeLay. Jason Lewis did colors. Somni did lettering. Like I said, Ethan Van Sciver cover, and it was colored by Kyle Ritter, edited by Steve Dye. The Betty Bright Eyes did the Vestige logo, and then Rohan Kumar Paul is editor-in-chief. I want you to just look at this book. People give Comicsgate creators such crap about how long you have to wait for a book, but then you have to go into the book and actually see what's being drawn. Look at that. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Beautiful artwork. Great story. I was really kind of blown away with the story. I didn't know the story was going to be as intricate as it is, but I'll show you another page here as soon as I figure out what I'm doing. So, I don't know if this is still in demand on Indiegogo. Right now, Gat Hanzo, Doodlebug are working on Volume 2. Donald DeLay is not doing Volume 2. He just did Volume 1. Doodlebags is doing Volume 2. I've seen they have a campaign active right now on Indiegogo, and you can actually look at some of the pages that are going in to make up Volume 2. I think they want this book to be out by November, so that's a pretty quick turnaround when it comes to any crowdfunded comic. You know, when you crowdfund, you kind of expect about a year. Sometimes it's a little bit longer because things do happen in real life. This might still be in demand, so you can get Volume 1, or you can go to Volume Vestige number 2. And I believe there's an option, I'm pretty sure there's an option that you can buy Volume 1 and 2. So, awesome book, CG only by the members of War Campaign. Hail my brethren. This is an awesome book. Check it out. All right. You know, I was told myself to bring something in to open this next one, because this one just came in the mail pretty recently and I haven't even opened it yet. So let me see if I can open it, because I've never received a comic book that's shrink wrapped in. That's good shipping. Came in Gemini mailer, which is awesome. Protected. I'm sure this book is in probably mint to near mint condition because of the way it was packaged. I'll probably do more damage opening it than the mail carriers did. All right. So you're looking at this book for the first time, just like I am. Get rid of the cardboard. Very nice. Comes with a poster. Okay, what book is this? Man, this is layered protection, man. This is the way you should do your books. So the grand reveal is Jawbreakers, God King by Richard Meyer. Well, actually, it looks like there's a couple of stories in here by different artists. So let's see here. God King story is written by Richard Meyer. Line art by Aaron Alfici. Coloring by Color Channel. Lettering by Eric Weathers. And then there's another chapter that's they're all Richard Meyer writing. Charlie Snoggins did the line art. Coloring by Michael G. Letters again by Eric Weathers. Devil Dog's Origin, script by Chuck Dixon, art by Aaron Alfici, Color Channels, the colorist again, Eric Weathers, lettering, and then another Chuck Dixon story, art by Renzo Rodriguez, Michael G. colors, Eric Weathers lettering, and then cover by Ethan Van Sciver and Kyle Ritter, poster by Sasha Perdiga. Okay. Sasha Perdigo and Kyle Ritter. I'm sorry about this, guys. I'm terrible with names. Look at this cover, man. This is actually an awesome cover. Look at this. I read the first Jawbreakers, I really enjoyed it. I think Richard's a great writer. He had John Malin doing some art in it. He had Kelsey Shannon doing some art in it. I've never seen Aaron Alfici's work, so let me take a peek at this. Like I said, I'm just opening this up myself. Wow, look at this artwork. Wow, this is amazing. Kind of recapping the last volume where they fought a giant gorilla. Wow, I just want to. I would love to be able to sit here and just show you it all. If I had a better camera, I could do that, but I gotta make do with what I have right now, guys. So this is just a taste. This is just a taste. You got to go out and buy these books yourself. Just a taste. So wonderful art all the way through. Top notch. I mean, better than what you're going to see in. Look at that right there. That's awesome. If this book is anything like the first Jawbreakers, great action, kind of in the paramilitary superhero kind of genre kind of thing, but it's a great read. It was so fun to read the first one. The art was amazing. The art looks even, if you can even say it, it's even better in this book. Richard is getting some top-notch talent to do these stories, and all I can say is it's amazing. Look at that. Tell me what mainstream book has something like that. Gorgeous. Gorgeous. I know people are out there screaming, "Where's her organs? Where's her organs?" Nobody cares about her organs. What about this? Look at this. So this is on my next to read list. Unfortunately, like I said, you saw me open it. I want to show you the poster too, by Sashi. Look at this. Look at that. That's gorgeous. Beautifully drawn, beautifully colored. Get a little close up here. Amazing. So, Jawbreakers, yeah. Wow, that's great. I kind of wish they would have just put it in the comic bag and board, but they did their shipping. I mean, like I said, I've never seen a book shipped shrunk wrapped like that for a comic. So, all right. Put that in my pile to read. Next up, these are not Comicsgate comic books, but they're from a creator that I enjoyed in the 90s a lot, and that's Brian Pulido. You might remember him from Chaos Comics, Lady Death, Evil Ernie, those kind of books. Well, he does crowdfunding now on Kickstarter. I don't support Kickstarter, so I actually had to find these online. I found them on eBay, and so I'll show you the cover. This is Hellwitch, Hellborn. These are more fantasy style kind of comics over superhero, but they're very good. And let's see here. So written by Brian Pulido and Mike McLean, illustrated by Diego Bernard, who's a very good artist. Colors by CC De La Cruz, awesome colorist. Lettered by Marshall Dillon, Hellwitch logo by Martian Dillon. So let me find something here to show you. Look at this art. It's kind of shiny, so I apologize for the light. I've got artwork. I haven't read the story yet. But look at this. This is amazing artwork. Try to get it to where not so much glare. But I think you can get the idea from it. So a lot of Brian's work is angels and devils and demons and stuff like that. Very sci-fi material. This is an adults-only channel, so if you're under the age of 18, go ahead and leave now, because this is not for you. This is not your content. Look at this. Look at that. Boobies. You don't see that in mainstream comics ever, really. Okay, here's how you know you're old. Do you remember the time in the 90s with Image Comics where they would always have a beautiful woman in the shower or in a hot tub or bathtub, and there was always strategically placed bubbles? Do you remember those? I remember that. What a cop-out. I'm like, you know what? If you're going to draw scenes like that, just show it. Just show it. Your audience really isn't kids. It's people in their 20s, 30s, 40s. So, sorry for the glare again, guys. But that's Hell Witch, Hellborn #1. The only thing I don't like, it's very hard to keep what issues come before, because every issue is a #1. He just gives it a different name. Like the next book we're going to look at is Hell Witch. Was that The Forsaken? And I think this is actually the first book. This would be the second. But they're both labeled #1, so you got to go with what they put down. So I'm thinking that this creative team is exactly the same. Let me take a peek here. Yeah, exactly the same creators. Do some great action scenes and stuff like look, this is not really necessarily an action scene, but and I think these are all 48 page books. Oh, Brian's getting a lot more graphic with the sex. Okay. I won't show that because you can buy that and find out on your own. I'll show you another page of artwork though, because it's very similar. I mean, same creative team. So Diego Bernard and CC is colorist. So artwork is similar to the last issue I showed you. So Hell Witch, I found both of these on eBay. I got them, I think, for the same price as they were sold for through the campaign. I don't know if I bought it from Brian Pulido or not. There was no markup, I don't think, on those. There might be now, though. Another Pulido one. This was one of my favorite characters in the 90s, just because Stephen Hughes, who used to draw the character, made her with such huge tits, and that would be Lady Death, also by Brian Pulido. And I believe this is Diego Bernard and CC again as well. Cover. I don't know who did the cover. I'll tell you once I open up the book, though. But look at that. You don't get that in mainstream comics, people. I find independent comics are where, if you're an actual mature person who really gets into the story, who really loves great artwork, the mainstream really doesn't have a lot to offer you. Maybe a few books out of 100 every week or month. With independent comics, you can find some amazing artwork, and they just don't bound themselves by the bullshit that's going on in the mainstream. So yeah, it's the exact same creative team as the Hell Witch ones. Now, I know the Hell Witch ones I don't believe they don't. There might be a campaign going on right now on Kickstarter for another Hell Witch book. You might want to go check that out. I could be wrong. I thought I saw one, but it could be even over by now. The Hell Witch books don't sell as big as these books. Everybody wants the Lady Death books. But they're kind of all in the same vein, and they're even doing the same creative team. But I think it's just a love for the character. When you start getting stuff like this, and let me see here, try to get some of that glare away. It's good to see Lady Death is still looking powerful, voluptuous, beautiful, still kicking ass. That's why I'm saying I don't understand the argument of the mainstream comics saying, oh, well, these female characters are over sexualized and they're just eye candy for men and stuff like that. But it's like, these are strong characters. These aren't weak. Nobody's writing these females as weak. Now, I actually read this book through Comixology. So if you don't want to buy it, a physical copy, you can go to Comixology, and they actually have a lot of the Lady Death books. I don't think they do Hell Witch though, because Hell Witch, just leafing through it, looks definitely for a mature audience. There is sexual acts being performed. I wouldn't say that they're X-rated or anything, but like definitely a hard R. Hard R. That's what she said. How about that? Look at that page. This is comics to me, man. This is the shit you buy off of the mainstream today. You don't get this stuff. You get a lot of cookie cutter kind of artists who kind of have all the same bland style. Colorists, have all the same bland styles. It looks like they're trying to take digital coloring back to like the 80s, and making it, even though it's digital, the coloring's flat, doesn't emote well, doesn't show anything. The bisexual lighting. This is a comic book. This is somebody, if you are a real deal just fan of comics, then these are the kind of books that you want to read. They're just fun books, and there's a ton of them out there. There's tons of Lady Death books out there. I think there's probably, if I remember correctly, about 10 or 12 issues of Lady Death. I didn't particularly care for the artwork of the first artist that did a run on the books, but then when Diego Bernard took over, I should give cover credits. I don't know if this is the standard, and I can't make out the name, but Diego Bernard really takes this book up to another level, and it's wonderful to see that there's still creators out there that want to give you a kick-ass book. Okay, so Coffin Comics used to be Chaos Comics back in my day, back in the 90s. Still putting out awesome books. So check out Hell Witch, find Lady Death, let them into your life. Even if you're not a big fantasy person, I'm not a huge fan of the genre, but if you give me kick-ass women with big swords, magic, blood, a little nudity, some tasteful sex scenes, I'm all in. I'm all in. Now this book is from the 90s. All right, this is Image. This is one of my favorite artists that I think really never ever got the appreciation he deserved, and that's Larry Stroman. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Larry once we get done with these two books. I think that's all there were two. That's all I could find. That's what I got. I'm an eBay shopper, so all right. This is a raised up gold kind of foiled look, I guess it would be, for the lettering. Very nice, very classy Image. All right, story and dialogue is Todd Johnson. Story art is Larry Stroman. Color is by Joe Chiodo. Lettering Mike Hessler. Color assistant Wendy Fouts. Color separator Ollie Optics. And this is back from 1993. Look how Larry draws women. Now this is a black artist, and I believe the majority of the characters in this book are all black. Look at that ass. Look at that ass. And you know what? I bet you she's not a lesbian like she would be in mainstream comics. That's just a guess. These pages might be a little bit easier to see because there's not so much glare. Find some good art for you because I love Larry's work. He's one of these artists that I don't think ever got appreciated that much when he was working in the industry. Look at these pages, man. I don't know. I'm going to have to talk to Richard Meyer, see if maybe he can hire him for something. I would love to see him do a pinup for Jawbreakers or any of his other books. Look at that. Now, I've read this book. I originally read it in the 90s. I don't remember anything about what it's about, but I just picked it up because of Larry Stroman. I know Larry did work for Marvel. I think he did X-Force or a version of X-Force. One of the younger X-Men teams. So there's that first issue. This issue is a little bit thinner. This is a thicker stock kind of cover. This is more like a traditional floppy. Still Larry's work, though, with Todd Johnson. Just look at these. When I hear that thunder, I hope it's going to leave me alone while I do this. You know, they say diversity in comics. I'm like, this comic looks pretty diverse. It's not a new thing. It's not something that someone decided in 2017. Oh, there's not enough diversity in comics. It's like, this is diversity in comics. The problem is that people who should be buying these books don't buy these books. Everybody should buy them. But when you cater a book to a certain group of people, you have to make sure that group is going to be there to buy your book. And a lot of times people say they champion for you online. They'll go to Twitter, they'll go to Facebook or Instagram, Snapchat, wherever they go, and they'll express support. They'll clap you on the back and say, boy, you're doing a wonderful job. This is just what we need. And then the book comes out, and guess what? Nobody fucking buys it. It's on the shelf. And who pays for that? That's your local comic book shop. That's why a lot of people, including myself, are pissed off by mainstream companies like Marvel, who will pump out 100 books a month with numerous variant covers. And they tell the retailer, oh, this is the hot book. This is the hot book. That's what everyone says. Hot book, hot book. And the book fucking sits on the shelf, and guess what? It costs somebody money. And they got to take that book, slap it into a dollar bin, a quarter bin, whatever they might have, and they lose money. Now, I want to say that I don't think this was just a 2-issue mini. I want to say it probably just didn't make the cut, because that was something that Image was kind of, in my book, infamous for, is they would hype up a book. Even books by Jim Lee Well, that was one thing they did. If you grew up during the Image Wildstorm days, every book said it was by Jim Lee. So, of course, for a lot of people, you would think, oh, Jim Lee is drawing this book. No. Jim was co-creator or something to that extent, or he did a cover. He'd do a cover for the book. Book would have a good launch, and then sales would dwindle when people realized, oh, Jim isn't doing the artwork. So, you would have books that just wouldn't even end. They wouldn't even do a rush issue to end the book. It'd be like, oh, issue 3. Where's issue 4? And they wouldn't even say a lot of the times it was canceled. It was canceled. So Tribe. Now, the reason I brought up Larry Stroman is this. Larry Stroman is on Instagram. I believe that's where I ran into him. And he was having some medical issues. Now, I would recommend to Larry to go towards the Heroes Initiative. That's the program that was set up by creators for creators with health issues. But he was taking on commissions. So if you like what you saw in these books, sorry for the shitty camera, but if you like the art in the book, go to Instagram. You can see more art by Larry and maybe hit him up. I think some people offered him a job within Comicsgate. I don't think he's really interested in doing comics anymore, per se, like a full book. But he does do commissions of superheroes. So I think he was pretty affordable. I know when I saw him on there, they were like $60 to $80. And $80, you got a lot for your money. So if you're a comic fan like I am, that's the whole part of comic fandom for life. It's the love of comics and also the love for the creators that created these comics that we got to enjoy. Go on Instagram, find Larry Stroman, check out his artwork. If it's something that you like, then please get a commission from him. It's going to be affordable. You might have to send him a reference. I don't know how in depth he is now into the comic book world, but I bet you could do a Rockin' Cyber Frog if there's any Cyber Frogs fans watching. Who knows? Jawbreakers, Graveyard Shift. I don't know. This kind of came packaged weirdly. It's like I hate when they make it a puzzle. It's like, oh, you want to get your books? Do you know how to solve a Rubik's Cube? No, I do not, sir. I do not. But I will solve your taping job. All right. Now, why I wanted to show this book off, I've read this book once again back in the 90s. And it's an artist that I loved his style back then. I still love his artwork, but his style was so much different now. And I'm, of course, talking about the one and only Jay Lee, not Jim. This is Jim's half-brother, Jay Lee. And look at this cover. I don't even know if you can see it because of all the shine to it. Wildcats Trilogy. I was a huge Jim Lee Wildcats fan. This is written by Brandon Chow and Daphne Wynn. Jay Lee did the art. Joe Chiodo did colors. Mike Hessler was letterer. Wendy Fouts and Ben Fernandez color assist. Production was Kevin Cunningham. Deborah Marvin was editor. Chameleon Prime color separator. Brandon Cho, Jim Lee co-creators. This is amazing artwork. Now, for people who see Jay Lee's work today, you might not say that's not Jay Lee. Yes, his style has changed a lot over the years. It's become really refined, very illustrative in nature. But this is when I loved Jay Lee's artwork. I first discovered him. He took over Namor the Submariner from John Byrne, who was doing the writing and the art. John kept writing the stories. I believe, at least for a little while, and Jay took over the artwork, and I loved it because look how rough that looks. I love that roughness to his artwork. He was so different than what Image, Wildstorm was putting out. I think you would call Jay an artist's artist. Anybody remember Warblade? Look at that. That is sick looking. Look at this design. I don't even know, can't even remember who this character is. Look at that. I love this rough and tumble style. I just, everything was so slick back in the day. Anybody remember Zealot from Wildcats? I loved him that he did such funky hair. And the coda, the assassin's coda. Let's look at some ads. This is the fun thing about looking about. Look at this. This is an early J. Scott Campbell, Alex Garner, Fairchild pinup. Can you imagine what you would have to pay for this piece of art today? I remember when they were selling these pieces, they had a catalog where you could order from them like $500, maybe $1,000. Now these pieces go for so much more. Another Jeffrey Scott, as he was called then, Burnout, Alex Garner on ink. Alex Garner, one of my favorite inkers, who became such a phenomenal artist in his own right. And then there's Grunge. I love these kind of books because they bring back so many great memories. Free Fall. Look how he drew the face. He's gotten so much better. He was one of those artists that like every issue you could just track him getting better and better. You could just track that he was getting better and better. Still have to read that one again. I put 2 in 1. Okay. I've read these issues. I've had these issues numerous of times, and then they end up getting rid of them, and then I see them online, and I'm like, oh, I got to have that. Look at that cover. Zealot. Such emotion in her face, her posture, her stance, her pose there, but still looking goddamn gorgeous. Come on. Come on. Same creative team. So we won't go over that. Look at this art. So beautiful. So beautiful. I'm afraid that some of these will rip apart because they're stapled. It's a Wildcats team. Drawn beautifully. I hope this is more interesting to you guys than just me scanning pictures and showing you that way. That was kind of boring to me. Felt it would probably be boring to you, so I kind of came up doing it this way. I'll have to get a different camera set up though, and different microphone. I'm not going to show you much from this book because you already know the style. You've already seen the style. So I won't show you the last issue, just because it's more of the same great art story. I remember reading this. This was fun. It was definitely a departure from Jim's style of doing the Wildcats. So that was great to see. I mean, I love Jim Lee. He's still one of my favorite artists. Um, but in this era, to me, Jay beat Jim. And if you want a really good book by Jay Lee, he actually wrote and drew it. There's two different miniseries that he did. The first one is Hell Shock. It was a 4-issue limited series. And the artwork is very, I want to say it's a mix of Bill Sienkiewicz's style and Jay's own style. So it's very gritty, dirty, kind of loose with a lot of pen scribbling and stuff like that to do cross hatching and things like that. But it looks wonderful. And then after those 4 issues were done, didn't really hear anything else about the series. And then Jay did another miniseries, which was meant to rewrite everything that was in the first miniseries. I don't think he liked the way the first miniseries turned out. The second miniseries is when he started turning towards the current style that he has. So the artwork is a lot slicker, a lot cleaner, more illustrative in nature, I would say. But it was colored by, I think both miniseries was actually colored by a colorist that I love, is Jose Villaruba. And that is definitely worth people looking into. There's a lot of books out there that, maybe you don't, I don't know if that just totally screwed up everything. Probably. Uh, but I just wanted to see if there was like anyone viewing, one watching. That's how my videos goes. I get one view. Maybe I'll get a few more after when it's posted up on YouTube or whatever. But now I want to talk a little bit of something that's kind of important to me other than comic. It involves comics. As I've said before, I consider myself a member of ComicsGate. I consider myself a member of WarCampaign. And right now there's a lot of things going on in ComicsGate. There's a rift that has developed between ComicsGate and WarCampaign. Now, ComicsGate, if you don't know, it is meant to be a movement, a consumer movement that contains creators who put out content that is apolitical, doesn't carry a social agenda, doesn't tell you who you should like, who you shouldn't like. It's not a Nazi group. It's not an alt-right group. It's not a group of bigots, racists, homophobes, transphobes. I wouldn't be a part of it if it was, because my daughter is gay and I love my daughter with all my heart. So I wouldn't socialize with people who put down people like my daughter, because my daughter is working on becoming a nurse. I know she has a great life ahead of her, and I wouldn't want anybody's ignorance to stop her from achieving what she wants to achieve. So when I say I don't see ComicsGate as a hate movement, I mean that. Yeah, do people say stupid things? They do. Some of the behavior is childish, but it's just a bunch of people getting online having fun. It's mainstream media, mainstream comic book industry professionals who want to paint them as Nazis, as alt-right, because they fear them. They fear the ComicsGate movement, because if independent creators can come in and self crowdfund a comic book and receive 150, 250, 400, 800, $1 million on one book, okay, one book, then that shows them, and it shows their bosses who should be watching, that there's a better way to do business than what they're currently doing. And now understand, if you're a comic creator who's like, you hear these numbers and you're like, I got to jump on this. Okay. Things to remember. Okay. I prefer Indiegogo over Kickstarter. For a long time, Kickstarter had a political commissar. Her job was basically to keep creators that didn't fit her beliefs off of Kickstarter. Now, this person during the whole pandemic shutdown thing, I believe, is no longer there or is being removed. So that may open up Kickstarter a little bit more. Maybe they'll hire somebody else. I don't know. I like Indiegogo. And there's a couple of reasons, if you're a creator, why you should choose Indiegogo. All right. One, they don't gatekeep. Okay. Two, they take less money from you because you got to pay. You got to pay Kickstarter. You got to pay Indiegogo. All right. And I think three is that Kickstarter's become stagnant and Indiegogo has been consistently growing. So it's kind of like MySpace back in the day. In my day, was big. And then Facebook came along. And everybody slowly migrated over to Facebook, and MySpace disappeared. Or it might exist, but I don't think too many people use it. Okay. So Indiegogo. But now, say you do a comic book, and I'll get back to the Comicsgate War Campaign stuff here in a second. Say you do a campaign, all right, and say you're blessed enough, and that's why I consider that you're blessed, because you're blessed by the customers. I try not to call them fans anymore, even though that's what we are. We're a fandom, and but they're, as a creator, you have to look at them as your consumer, your customer. All right. That's why, a lot of people will tell you have to build your social media presence. That's why I'm trying to do more live videos and just videos in general, because I want to build up my audience, because I have a book that I'm working on right now that eventually I'll put on Indiegogo, and I want people to know about it and back it and it to be a success, so that when I fulfill that campaign, I can turn around and start my next campaign. But when you look at numbers like, say, $800,000, you were blessed, you had something that everybody wanted to buy, $800,000. Okay, that's gross. Okay, that's your gross income from it. Okay, Indiegogo takes 6% of that money off the top. All right. Then you got to sit there and go, well, you got to worry about taxes. Uncle Sam's going to want their part. Might not be right away, but when you file your taxes, you're going to have to claim that money. Excuse me. I'm sorry. My voice was starting to get hoarse. Uncle Sam's going to want their money. All right. So, sorry. So that gross, that $800,000 gets cut down pretty quickly. Okay. So say out of that $800,000, this is on the very conservative side, you have left $400,000. Now you're thinking, oh my God, I got $400,000. I'm rich. Well, let's see. Did you pay all your talent? Did you pay your writer, your artist, your colorist, your letterer, someone to edit your book? Maybe you had one of those roles. Maybe you were the writer, so you weren't worried about it. But you have to pay everybody else, right? Most likely you didn't pay everybody up front, because it can be pretty expensive to fund a comic book on your own. Trust me, I'm learning that myself. So unless you have deep pockets, which is great, you probably haven't paid your talent yet, or at least not all the money they're owed. So then that comes out of it. And then you have to say, well, now I got to print these books and anything else you promised, like cards, stickers, posters. That has to be printed. That's going to cost you. What about fulfillment? Say out of that $800,000, you have 13,000 books that you have to ship out. 13,000 supporters on your campaign. 13,000 books. So not only you have to get it printed, are you going to fulfill that by yourself? Can you fulfill that by yourself? If someone came in a big truck and dropped off 13,000 comic books, could you bag and board them? Could you shrink wrap them like Richard Meyer? Could you put them in a nice envelope like a Gemini mailer, which is kind of the standard now in comic books? Overseas, I don't think Geminis really work that well. So I hear that a lot of people do the bubble envelopes, but in the United States, there's Gemini mailers. So that's everything. And what happens if you offered a tier where you signed the book? Are you signing all 13,000 copies? That's not costing you money. It's costing you time, though. And then you got to bag and board, package them all up, put all the addresses on it and all the mailing information on it. And then you got to go pay for postage because that's part of your Indiegogo. Some of that money was meant just for postage. Now, if you can't do 13,000 issues, shipping them out to your customers, you got to find somebody to fulfill it. And they're going to want money. So you see, even $800,000 can be whittled down to where you'll still get a substantial amount of money. I mean, I think if you're smart, you can probably walk away with about $250,000, maybe less. I don't know. It depends who you go through. Okay, so that's why I suggest Indiegogo. Just because they take a little less money, they don't gatekeep. They're very helpful. I hear about supporting your campaign and helping you with your campaign, setting it up and everything, running it and everything. So that seems the way to go. But anyways, going back from that story back to Comicsgate and War Campaign. So Comicsgate is this consumer movement of people who just want good comic books. No political, social agendas bashing you over your head on every page. You're a comic book person who just wants to read good story. Just like when you go watch television or a movie, you want to watch a good story. You don't necessarily want the creative people behind that media to be sitting there preaching to you the whole time and telling you you're a Nazi, you're a bad person, you're this, you're that, all that garbage. So I think I totally screwed this video up looking at YouTube, but we'll see. Anyways, so Comicsgate is this consumer movement, and within this consumer movement is a group of fans, which are known as War Campaign. They're kind of like the all-in kind of fans. It's like football. It's like the fans that show up every game, and they got their team shirt on. They got their face painted. They're ready to go. They staunchly support their team. That's what War Campaign is. It's a group of fans or consumers that support these creators, and they're in it for the long haul. It means a lot to them. Now, recently, like I said, there's been kind of a split between Comicsgate and War Campaign. I think things were said and done that people on both sides didn't like. One side said something and the other side would say another thing, and it just kind of boils and boils and boils up. And there are Comicsgaters, the fans or the customers are just, I don't want this. I'm not a part of doing this. I just want good comics. I'm not taking sides. I just want comics. But then, of course, there's other fans who, want to shit talk and say stuff on social media. And the same goes for War Campaign. I think there's people in War Campaign who just say, hey, I'm here for the fun, the laughs. I'm here for the books. I don't want to bash heads with people. But then there's people who do. So that's what you have. And right now there's a rift. Now, like I said, I consider myself Comicsgate. I consider myself War Campaign. But to set myself apart from these two groups, I wanted to start looking at my name a little bit more. When I introduce myself, it's Trainwreck Comic Fandom for Life. Comic fandom. That's what I'm a fan of. Okay. I can sit there and admire a writer's skill in a book. I can look at the pages that were beautifully crafted by the art team, penciler, inker, colorist. You know, I can enjoy that there's not a lot of misspelled words or words left out thanks to a wonderful editor. And I can enjoy that book. I don't have to necessarily like every or any of the people that are doing that book. I don't know them personally. You don't know me personally. You're just seeing me on your screen while I'm in my home. You don't know me. You don't know what I'm like when that camera goes off. And the thing is, a lot of people on YouTube, they create these personas of themselves for themselves. You know, whether it be an easygoing, funny person, or maybe it's somebody who's just ranked up on energy and they're just screaming at you through their videos. You know, and you love it. You're just like, I'm charged. I got that energy. Send it my way. I want to do that. Do whatever you're doing. But at the end of the night, you turn off your computer, or you put down your phone for a little bit, or your iPad, and you have to go to the real world again. And I think, in my opinion, the shit that we have to deal with in the real world trumps anything that we have to deal with on social media. You can block me on social media. You can call me names on social media. You can make threats towards me on social media. Now, that might get you in a little bit of trouble. But really, when it comes down to it, as Comicsgate's War Campaign, and even as my own little subgroup of myself as Comic Fandom, all I really want is a good product. And if I become a creator like I hope to, I want to give you a good product. And I want you to enjoy my book. And that's what it should all be about. It shouldn't be about, I don't like you, you don't like me, you said this, you won't apologize for that, now we're this, you're looking down upon us like that. Shouldn't be all that stuff. It really doesn't need to be all that stuff. You know, are there big names in Comicsgate? Yeah, there's big names. They have big channels, big social following. They sell books in the $200, $250, $800, $900,000 range. Not every creator is going to be like that. Some creators are going to walk away with maybe $10,000. And you better hope and pray that that's enough money to put out your book to the people who supported your campaign. There's always going to be people that are top tier. You know, if you want to say, you know, they're the AAA team, then you have the AA team, and then the A team. It's always going to be like that. No one's going to ever be on equal footing, whether you sit there and say, well, he's my friend, I'm his friend, she's my friend, whatever. You're all going to be at different levels of things. Now, does that mean that you can't start at the bottom and bring yourself up to the top? Sure you can. Sure you can. There's upward mobility in Comicsgate. Nobody's keeping anybody down that I see. You know, you just have to work harder. And there are a lot of people who are out there busting their ass just to make 20 grand, 30 grand on their campaigns. Gross. Remember? Gross income. You know, and then they got to put out those books because they want to do another campaign and they want that campaign to grow. You know, it's like, you know, it's not uncommon in Comicsgate to see somebody do like a $35,000 campaign, and then the next campaign they're in $100,000. They're at $100,000 because the fans or the consumers know that they're going to deliver. They've read the story, they've seen the artwork. Hopefully they've talked about it on social media to bring a little bit more into that creator's world. Next book, $100,000, $150,000, $200,000. The sky's the limit. But this whole piss ant swinging dick shit that's going on right now, Comicsgate don't need it. We don't need it. Whether you consider yourself just a fan, or you're a hardcore fan, or maybe you're just a casual observer, you're just trying to find out what's going on. What's going on should be comic books. If you don't want to create comic books, create something else. People are looking at making toys and statues, stickers and posters, bumper stickers, shiny decals, masks, a lot of different things. So there's room in Comicsgate for everybody. And the only thing that's going to hold you back is getting into this bullshit arguments with people that kind of flare up every 4 or 5 months and eventually go away. Comicsgate is going to exist, and as long as Comicsgate exists, there's going to be War Campaign. And maybe if Comicsgate disappears, War Campaign will still survive and still go on and do their own thing, which I think that's what their focus is. Vestige 2, going to be better. Vestige 1, going to get to you quicker. So I asked my brothers and sisters in Comicsgate and War Campaign to kind of let's see if we can squash this stuff. Whether it takes talking about it, and don't talk about it on somebody's fucking stream and make a show out of it. Do it behind the scenes. Okay? There's enough fucking drama on TV. If I want the drama, I'll go find fucking Maury Povich, Jerry Springer, whoever the fuck else is on TV. I don't need those kind of shenanigans. All right? Get behind closed doors. Talk about things. Be reasonable. You know what? Be a man. And if you have to apologize for something, fucking apologize for it. There's nowhere does it say that a man cannot be sorry for his actions. If you've done something to offend somebody, to hurt somebody, then God damn it, say you're fucking sorry. And if you're somebody out there who's trying to spread shit about one group or the other, stop it. We don't need you. Understand? We don't need you. We don't need you for that. What we need is you to be a customer, a fan of comic books. I showed you some great comic books, and I got more comic books coming in. And I look forward to them. And Twitter's a dumpster fire as it is. It doesn't need to be any more of a dumpster fire, if you get what I'm saying. So I don't know if anybody from Comicsgate will watch this or anybody from War Campaign will watch it. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. Okay? I'm just saying my opinion. You don't have to like it. You don't have to agree with it. It's my opinion. That's it. Comicsgate is about comic books. Okay? And if, by chance, creators who were kicked out of the mainstream industry in 2016, 2017, who were called Nazis, who were called alt-right, bigots, racist, homophobe, transphobe, istophobes, if they find a mainstream company that's willing to work with them, what the fuck's the problem? That's business. I have a fucking degree in business, and I tell you that. That's the truth. Because there's only so much you can do as a small creator. No matter how much money you're making, you're always going to be relying on somebody else. You could be using the same printers as Marvel and DC. Does that mean you're rubbing elbows with the mainstream? No, you're paying somebody to do a job for you. If there's a publisher out there that says, listen, I can help you get your books done at affordable rate. I can get them bagged, boarded, boxed up, ready to ship out for you. Why wouldn't you take that? If you have a small run, you can do it yourself. Don't get me wrong. But I'm saying if you're up here with a large amount of backers on your campaign, you might not want to deal with all that stuff, because then you want to move on to the next project, right? The next book. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't mean that you're adopting all the bullshit that the mainstream tries to sell fans. It doesn't mean that. What it means is you're using resources that are available to you to make your business a better business. Not only for yourself, because of course you want the profit, but it's also for your fans. Can I get my fans or my customers their books quicker? How can I do that? Who can help me with it? I want to make a toy. Who can help me make this statue? Who's going to give me a great poster that's just going to be printed so vibrant and beautifully that I'm just going to stare at it in awe all day? It's going to be on my wall. I've met some people that seem very nice on the internet. And I've met some people I would look at and say, but they seem kind of like an asshole. Are they like that in real life? Fuck if I know. I don't know. I do not know. But, I might like them or dislike them online. I don't know them personally. How can I take anything they say personally? I don't know them. But if you give me a good book that when I sit down for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever amount of time it takes me to read it, and I get lost in that book and I look at every panel, every figure, every background, and I sit there and go, God damn, this is fucking the shit I love. I don't care if you're part of the Tutti Frutti group, your Comicsgate, your War Campaign, your Wang Dang Chung Pain. I don't care, man. I just don't care. I just don't care. It's about the comics. That's what it should be about. It's about the comics. Can Comicsgate build upon itself? Yes, it can. I know a lot of people are worried, with the way the mainstream is now, that all these SGWs are going to flock to Comicsgate and they're going to fuck everything up. It's like, well, I hope that we've learned our lessons over the past 3 or 4 years. I've only been here a year, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of history with Comicsgate. If you think someone's going to fuck the shit up, they got to go. They got to be asked to leave. Comicsgate has done that before. They can do it again. But maybe we get creators that come over from mainstream who feel exactly the way we feel. But they were scared to come over because once you say you're Comicsgate, you're done. You're fucked in the mainstream. They don't want to see you again. They want to erase you, forget you. That's it. So, I take this stuff seriously. I mean, when I say that I'm almost a 40-year fan of comics, I mean that. I grew up with Paul Smith, John Romita Jr., John Romita Sr., John Byrne, George Perez. I went into the world of Mark Silvestri, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee, Willis Portacio, and on and on and on. Del Keown, Stephen Hughes, James O'Barr, Tim Vigil. I've seen great books. I've read great books. What's coming out right now, I tell you, are not great books. Okay? And I don't think that has anything to do with diversity. I don't think it matters if you're black, white, if you're Latino, if you're Asian, if you're Muslim, if you're Christian, if you're Jewish. It doesn't matter. It's the books are shit. The books are shit. If we want this medium to survive, we have to help it survive. Okay? If you want to keep on getting books like Vestige, all right, you got to back it. You got to support these creators. And we're going to grow, and we're going to grow, and there's going to be growing pains, and there's going to, in any organization. I worked in the military. I was in the military for a long, 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 long time. And I worked as a civilian federal employee for a long time. And I know not everybody in an organization is going to agree with one another. But we have to come together on where we want this community and how we want this community to grow. That's it. And as customers, you have to realize that creators, yeah, they want to make you happy. They don't know you. They might know your screen name or whatever. Maybe you send chats or super chats their way or whatever. But 99.9%, they don't know you for real. They don't know who you are. They're selling you their comics. You're buying their comics. All right? There's no lords. There's no peasants. Because one cannot survive without the other. And even if a group, like say, the lords are all killed or driven away, and there are only the peasants, guess what? Eventually someone or someone's in that group of peasants is going to rise above the others. And you're going to have your lords, So we got to stop playing this game. We got to stop playing this game. There's creators and there's consumers. Creators, as fans, we love your work. We want to buy your work. But as consumers, we also know without us, you're drawing or creating for yourself. Pretty heavy stream, huh? Turn from just looking at some comic books to going into this. Anyways, everybody, I thank you so much. I don't know if anyone watched this video. I think there might be one person viewing. I don't know. Maybe you'll watch it later. That would be great if you do. And if you want to cut me off before the rant, that's fine. Just look at the comic books. That's what it really is all about. That's why I say it's comic fandom for life. This hobby has become a part of my life. Stop fucking around. Stop kissing ass. Stop swinging dicks. Stop puffing up your chests. And just know, as fans, we need the creator to create the products that we want to buy. For creators, you have to remember, the consumer buys your product. If they do not support you, they will not buy your product. And nobody wins. So, thank you for tuning in. This has been Trainwreck, Comic Fandom for Life. I hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like if you did. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell for notifications. And I'll talk to you again. It was a lot of fun for me, especially the comic stuff, not the drama stuff, the comic stuff. So I hope we can do it again real soon. Take care.